What's good, Phantom Troop? So with Monster Hunter Wilds just around the corner, I wanted to cover a topic that has been on my mind recently with all the new trailers that we've been getting, and that's about Arkveld having the very high possibility of getting a new form or variant in the late game. So to start all of this off, we need to start at the very beginning, and that's with the apex creatures that Arkveld seems to have a very special interest in. As we could tell when in the trailer, we could see Arkveld absorb Ray Dow's energy or power or something away from Ray Dow. We don't know exactly what it was, but it's a safe assumption to say that it was kind of like his energy. In the same sense that Xeno'jiiva just absorbed the world's energy from, world. So does this mean he only wants the apex monsters? No, but I feel like it's a very safe assumption, because if it wasn't, then I mean, they probably would have shown it on other monsters as well at that point, but who knows. Now, the reason he could have a particular interest in them is that they could be from the same time as him, since Arkveld was once thought to be an extinct species, and they all have very unique names, even in the sense for a monster hunter. For like instance, Ray Dow, Uthduna, Uthudra, and Jin Dahad all sound a little bit more historical or older per se. Like it's kind of like those names where you hear like Abraham. You hear that name and you're not gonna be like, ah, yeah, 21st generation. No, you're not gonna think of like current names. You're gonna think of older, more not normal, but more old-timey. And another reason I think that this could be the case is that just like Arkveld was originally called the White Wraith, Uthudra was called the Black Flame, which, if you don't know who Uthudra is, it's the actual name that we have for that giant apex in the oil well basin, the one that looks like a little squid monster. Now, this could just be a coincidence, but the likelihood of that in a video game nowadays is very slim in my opinion, and I think it's trying to hint towards something for people to kind of dig at, but again, it could just be a coincidence, who knows. So now back to why I think Arkveld could very well potentially have another form, is that Capcom really loves to give monsters another form. For instance, there's Gore Magala turning into Shigura Magala. Granted, that's just it kind of growing up, but then we have Xeno'jiiva turning into Safi'jiiva, which again is an instance of just growing up, but it was also involving, like, it needed more energy to absorb, because we had Xeno'jiiva, which was, I believe, an underdeveloped Safi'jiiva, so it had to grow more by absorbing the energy of world. So what I personally think is that Arkveld needs the energy of something similar to what it had in the past. So we have the 4 apex monsters, the ones that all have those unique sounding names, and that's why it's targeting them. And once it gets all of its energy, it becomes quote unquote unchained. Now this leads me to think about the new variant of Rathalos. So as we know, whenever Arkveld absorbed the energy of Ray Dow and maybe some more monsters in one of the trailer, it gets like a bluish purplish hue like spreading throughout its body in a kind of like a veiny pattern, kind of like a disease, or if you've seen Arcane, kind of exactly how Shimmer does with people. So it's definitely related to Arkveld, but we don't exactly know if it's like a virus, a disease, if it's part of his power, if Arkveld's kind of just like sharing it, controlling it, or what. Also a little side tangent for everyone. So far, if the data mines are correct, like they have been so far, we might be seeing a variant like Rathalos, like that blue-purple hue with an Odogaron and Anjanath, which would be fucking amazing. I would love to see that on Odogaron, who is probably one of my favorite monsters, 100% top 3. It might change in this game, but still. Now let's get back to Arkveld. So now back to Arkveld is, we don't know if it's exactly like the same thing as Gore Magala, which was it made monsters go into like a frenzy, for instance, or if it's something completely different. Personally, I would love it to be Arkveld using his powers to control other monsters, or kind of just give him an extra power, and in favor they'll help him to make an army to take on his true enemy that we have yet to meet. Like, the flagship monster is never going to be the final boss of late game, as far as we've seen in other games so far. It's always there's a hidden, like, true enemy. Another little detail is that Nada and his people have some sort of deeper connection, like maybe they ended up imprisoning Arkveld, and that is why he went after them first once he broke out of his chains, or his people could have just hunted his entire species into extinction except for him, and that's why he went after them at first. So a reason to think that they imprisoned him is in the newest trailer we see Nala cries, "I don't know who is worse." And the mission to hunt Arkveld in the beta is called Chained Arkveld. Now that could just be because of his chain-like appendages, but what Nala said really makes me think that his people have an even more deeper connection and or purpose behind Arkveld. So now none of this is confirmed minus a few obvious details we have seen in the trailers. And I want to know your guys' opinions in the comments, and if you've made it this far, hit that like button and sub so it helps me know I'm doing something right. And also, more importantly, that the algorithm gets the same thought process as me. Also, keep out for more videos coming out weekly for Monster Hunter and other video game related that I find interesting. Until next time, guys, peace out.